Okay, so as we just already kind of covered slightly, front end estimation, we're doing a take 2. Okay, we're gonna replay that lesson. We're gonna, kind of like pretend like this is a movie and the first time that we tried to record what we did didn't work. So now we're gonna try again, okay? So last night for homework, you were responsible for answering the even numbers on page 15. So first off, let me make sure that I think I hear words coming out of my mouth, I think I hear myself say things, but I want you as the audience to confirm it. Have I already said a bunch of times that when you go to your book, you have to look at the book page numbers?
Yes.
I did say that.
Yes.
Okay, because there was a situation where it was kind of brought to my attention that somebody didn't know what page it was supposed to be on. Not from this room, but from another room. So as long as I know I am saying these things, that makes me feel like I'm doing my job. So that's a good thing. You have to kind of visualize this book here as like a real book that's sitting on your desk. Okay? And you're flipping the pages of that real book. So don't view this as an online book and look at the book's pages, because then that thing's going to happen where it pops up that page number down here and messes you all up. Okay, so you will have to zoom in and make sure that just like if we were, really holding a book in our hand, down here at the very bottom where it says 15, that's the one that I wanted you to do. Okay, so first off, everybody was on the right page last night, hopefully. Okay, so let's kind of practice some of these because we need a little bit of a redo. So let's start with one of them that I believe was probably an easier one. Okay, let's do number 9. Now I know you didn't have to do number 9 for homework last night, but we're going to kind of just take some of the problems off this paper and we're going to do them together. Everybody in this room will get 100% grade for doing last night's assignment. Okay? Even if you totally flubbed it up. Okay? Don't worry about it. Homework will never kill your grade. The only time homework will kill your grade is if you never do it. If you never, ever do homework, then that means all of those hundreds that the people who are doing it are getting, you're getting 50s because you're not doing it. So that will hurt your score. But if you did homework, or if you're ever at home working on your homework and it's hard and you're having somebody at home help and you feel like you're getting a lot of them wrong, don't ever think that when you come back to school the next day that you're going to get a bad score and it's going to hurt your grade. Because almost always, whenever you do homework, I give you 100% for trying, for practicing. That's all I want you to do is practice. And if you did your job and you practice, sometimes in practice you make mistakes. You're not going to get penalized or hurt because you had a mistake in practice. Okay? We just have to learn from those. So that's what we're going to do today in class. We're going to learn from maybe our mistakes that we might have made. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to practice number 9. So let me get a new sheet of paper because we need to kind of start with number 9. Now, I don't have the book directly in front of me. I could jump back and forth, but rather than doing that, let's just kind of do one that would be like number 9, okay? So, this is a practice. Everybody ready? This one I think should probably have been a little on the easier side. So let's say, I know it had 3 numbers. So let's just say the first number was 3,264 plus 4,832 plus 1,957. Okay, so that's what the problem looked like last night in your book. Now, did you notice how when we watched the video or we kind of played with it yesterday in class, instead of stacking the numbers on top of each other like this, they wrote them in a big long line? It doesn't matter how you solve it. If you're more comfortable doing it like this, stacked on top of each other like the book did it, then keep it that way. But if you're more comfortable like writing it out as a line, then do it that way. Are any of you more comfortable doing it in a line form? You are? Well, then you're probably going to have to get into the habit of rewriting the problem in your notebook. Because the book would run out of space on the page if they wrote every problem really long. So they're going to always put it in a stacked form. But you can do it the other, however you want. Okay? All right, so the first thing that we have to do with front-end estimation, because remember, estimation is getting a number that is closest to the real number. So what we learned yesterday was what? Who can tell me what I'm supposed to do first? And if you're not sure, like if this is something that kind of was giving you some headaches, I always say you can make math recipes. Like a cooking recipe tells me, what do I do first? What do I do second? What do I do third? If you need to make yourself a math recipe, then do that. Step 1 is to do what, Hallie? So we're going to go to the largest place, right? And are we going to round that or are we going to give its value? So we're going to go the largest place and then give the value. All right, so Hallie wants to attempt this one. So Hallie, the largest place in the top number is this 3. The largest place in the middle number is the 4, and the largest place in the bottom number is a 1. So what would each of those be if I'm giving their value?
3,000, 4,000, and 4,000.
Beautiful. Now what would I do, Hallie, to all of those that you just gave me? I would add them because it's an addition problem, friends. So I got to add. So when I add all this together, Hallie, what's it going to total? See how she did that so quickly? Because when you play with zeros, you can do things quick. All right, but we're not finished. And this is where some of you wanted to stop. If you stopped there, you would have ended up too far away from the actual real answer. So step 2 of the recipe says to do what next? Allie.
Do like the second largest.
Good girl. Go to the second largest place and do what? Give its value. If you need this recipe, like if this was something that kind of was hard for you last night, then put the recipe in your notes. So that whenever you're having to do front-end estimation, you just follow the recipe. All right, so Allie's going to tell us this. So Allie, in the first number, the next largest value was a 2, then an 8, and then a 9.
So 200,
Uh-huh.
800,
Uh-huh.
and 900.
Excellent. And what am I going to do to all of those, Allie?
You're going to add them.
I am. Allie, when I add all of that together, what's it going to give me? Let's do the ones first. What do all the ones add up to be? This row right here.
0,
Good. Move to the next one.
0,
Good. And then this one is the one.
19.
Good girl. Now, am I done? No. The recipe has one more step. So what's the last step of the recipe? Somebody new. Come on, I want some new hands. Somebody new. Brayden. Step. Excellent. Add the final numbers together. So let's come back to our problem. So this 8,000 was my first final number. This 1,900 was my other final number. And now I'm gonna add these together. Now, if you can add that in your head, great. But it could be hard to add those together in your head. So just rewrite it, 8,000 plus 1,900. Notice how I lined everything up perfectly. And now when I add, I end up with a grand total of 9,900. That's the recipe for how to do front-end estimation if you have three numbers. Now let's just check ourselves, because it's always good to check ourselves. Let's check ourselves and see how close did we get to the real answer. So if we took a calculator and we typed in 3,264 plus 4,832 plus 1,957, and we hit the equal sign, we get a grand total of 10,053.
Wow, you got close.
We were super duper close.
Like,
Front-end estimation gets you as close as you possibly can. If we just rounded, let's say all we did was round to the highest place, we would have ended with 8,000. Look how far away we would have been from the actual number. Not too close, right?
yeah, but front end has a lot more.
So are you seeing how front-end estimation, where it might take you a tiny bit longer, it really doesn't take that long now that you kind of know how to do it, but do you see how it's going to get you closest to the real answer? Okay? So if the book gives a direction, so here's what happened last night. The book gave a direction for these first problems right here, and the book's direction said estimate each sum or difference. What kind of estimation did you learn to do yesterday? Everybody? Front-end estimation. So for homework last night, these problems you should have solved using front-end estimation, because that's what we learned in class yesterday. You did not, it didn't say to use front-end estimation, but your brain tells you that Miss Malone wouldn't have me do something at home to practice if it wasn't what we did at school that day. Okay? I know you know how to round. Rounding was more of a 4th grade skill. Front-end estimation is a 5th grade skill. What? We're going to get to that. Okay. What?
Can we try one like number 18 or 20?
We are going to get there. Yes, absolutely. But before we jump that far ahead, does everybody feel like what I just showed you here now feels better?
Yes.
So on the count of 3, you're going to either give me a thumb up, thumb down, or a sideways so I can see where you are. 1, 2, 3, show. Okay, thumbs down. So the majority of the people in here had thumbs up. So that means if you're somebody who had a sideways thumb or a thumb down, we can't stop everybody else to kind of redo. So what we have to do is, at some point, those of you who had the sideways thumb and thumb down, maybe you have to visit me in Mathmania one day so we can kind of do a little work in that class. Or maybe you have to kind of find me one day after school before you leave and say, Miss Malone, can you help me one more time on how to do this? Because as teachers, we have to kind of teach to the crowd. And if most people in the crowd are getting it, we have to move on. So anybody that's still having a little bit of trouble needs to then come to me on their own so I can help them. Is that clear? Question.
Can we just review front-end estimating for subtraction?
We are. I'm just asking if this is clear.
Oh, yeah, that's clear.
Yeah. We haven't even done the subtraction yet. Now we're going to practice one of those. So, okay. All right. So let's try. I'm going to get me a new page because we got a lot of activity happening. Okay. Well, here's what we'll do. How about we take a pause because it's just about lunchtime. We'll let you feed your bellies, feed your brain, and then we'll pick up after lunch. Deal? Okay.